Hello, everybody.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, Beth.
Don Walkluck's not going to be here tonight. I think Janice is joining us. And Scott.
Hey gang, happy Thursday.
Happy Thursday.
Woohoo.
Happy 80 degrees.
I love it.
Yeah, what a beautiful day it was.
80 degrees.
The black flies weren't even that bad.
Wasn't 80 degrees in Boston. I don't know how you guys got 80 degrees. Is it really 80 degrees in Western Mass?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh,
Yep.
man.
Even way up here in Shutesbury.
Probably
I
for the
missed
next
out.
3 days.
Jealous.
It's like,
Well, we can call the meeting to order at 7 o'clock. And first on the agenda we have is to look at the minutes. And we do not have the minutes for April 28th ready for review. There was a piece missing from them and Carrie updated the draft, but I haven't had a chance to look at it. So we've got the minutes from April 14th. Has everybody had a chance to look at them?
Mhm.
yeah, looked okay to me.
All right,
Me too.
all right. Somebody want to make a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve the 4:14 minutes.
Okay, second.
All right,
Second.
Okay. Beth seconded. Okay, David.
Jinx.
Aye.
Font, aye. Harrington,
Aye.
Khan,
Hi.
Wilson.
Aye.
Okay, so at 10 o'clock, at 7:10, we were going to talk with Michael Stotz and Anna Mancebo.
Stotts is the last name.
Okay, Mike Stotz and Anna Mancebo about their request for an amended order of conditions. We've got a few minutes before that, so I'm thinking maybe we can just jump ahead and go over site visits. I still have not written up the site visit form completed for 66 Lake Drive, so let's just skip over that. Robin and Beth, you took a look at the highway department sites. Do you want to give us an update on that?
Well, the first one, we started at the library site and I never did a site visit form because it was like all we were looking at is where they tore down the building and they were going to put down loam and seed. And wasn't that sort of in the agreement when we approved them to demolish the building in the first place? So we had no idea how to even deal with that. It looked fine, the ground was level and it seemed like loaming and seeding were going to be successful.
Well, I think my thought about it is that we don't need a permit for that. We could just tell them it's within buffer zone, right? We could ask them to use conservation seed mix
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
and just, I don't think we need a permit for that, require a permit. And then you want to talk about the Baker Road culvert?
Yes, and it was very helpful that it happened to be in front of Linda Scott's house. And she came out and was sort of giving us some information. And yes, we pretty much, and correct me at any time, Beth, or interject, but it certainly needs a replacement. It was sort of rusting out. And where it went under the road, there was a portion of the road where it actually, the soil had eroded and it was actually, you could see it on the surface of the road.
Yeah, I think at that location, they fixed it a couple times. That's just a spot where the pipe actually comes up high enough that the road keeps getting eroded at that spot. And they've actually had to patch the pipe there and keep trying to fix the road there. So I think part of the replacement, I'm assuming, would be to kind of lower the pipe a little so that it's not so gets exposed so easily.
Right.
What
I
is the
certainly would hope
resource, what
so.
is the resource area?
So that's the question. There really wasn't much of a resource area around there at all. You had to go all the way up the roadside. There's a swale that takes road drainage. You had to go all the way up that. In fact, on the other side of another culvert that connects the swale to get to a point where you could see some natural flow just coming into the swale. And then Robin and I kind of went up behind that area and there was a wetland that was off the road. But I'd say that where that wetland is actually draining into the swale was a good, I don't know, 750 feet from where the
Oh.
culvert is. It was pretty far.
Okay,
So,
it's outside of our jurisdiction,
yeah, I think so.
so we will not require a permit for that. So I guess there was a little bit of a mix-up around meeting with Tim because he thought it was on Wednesday, but I had actually emailed everybody because Beth wasn't free on Wednesday. You had asked to have it on Monday. And I think Tim is away next week, so they can't do it next week. Is there, for the following week, is there a date that works better for you, Beth?
See.
Oh, man. Can't- So not next week, but the week after would
That's-
be,
Right, so we're talking about the week of the 30th. So maybe the choice would be Monday, the 30th, or June 1st.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant.
we are leaving on June 1st for about a week.
Oh,
And the 30th is Memorial Day.
Yeah,
oh, it's a holiday, right? That's not gonna work. Wednesday, then June 1st, would that work for you, Beth?
Wednesday works.
Okay. And Mary, can you do it?
And what are we going to look at?
It's to look at Sand Hill Road where they want to widen the road.
Yeah, I could do it on Wednesday.
Okay, and we'll shoot for 3:30 and I will confirm with you guys. I'm still not in town local that one till the week after, so I can't go.
Okay.
Sounds good.
We have, I'm trying to set up site visits for this Sunday. We've got several site visits that we need to do. I've got 1, 2, 3, I actually have 5 site visits. So I'm wondering, I'd do them maybe between 11 and 1, and I'm wondering who would be available, or is that the best time?
Let's
I'll
see.
be available, so I can go.
I could do it.
Yeah, I can, 11 works and I think I can stay for all of them if we
Would
do
you
them
rather
pretty
do it
efficiently.
earlier? Would you like to start at 10?
I know 11 would be better for me, but.
All right. Okay, I will email everybody the itinerary tomorrow, and I'll let all the landowners know kind of the general window of when to arrive, when to show up.
Okay, and I will confirm with my calendar what's going on and if there's anything I can move, but I might be able to make at least some of them.
Okay. For one of them, we've already been down there, but 120 Cushman Road, the RDA for that driveway down by the road, what I realized was that we never looked at the top of the driveway, and that is part of the project, and there are some issues with stormwater up at the top of the driveway. So I can't believe we didn't walk up the hill and look at it when we were there, but we didn't. So I think we need to go and take a look at that.
Okay.
So that will be a quick one. And then there is a ground mounted solar project at Mike Vinsky and 391 West Palm Road. And then there is a new home construction at 421 West Palm Road that's in a buffer zone. And then we need to go back to 31 Lakeview Road to look at the site for the amended order of conditions request. And then on 14 Lake Drive, there's a new home construction NOI. So that's what we've got.
Well, a lot going on.
Yes, and we have a lot of projects, a lot of public hearings coming up. I know we're going to talk in a minute about the order of conditions request, but one of the things I just wanted to talk to you guys about is that June 9th, I think Scott and Beth are not here. Are you guys gone for the whole week?
No, I just, high school graduation is the next day and we have relatives coming to stay. So, they'll be here through the weekend.
You have a graduating high schooler?
I do have a graduating high schooler.
Congratulations.
Oh, wow.
Congratulations,
Congratulations.
yay.
Yeah, yep. Thank
Um,
God he's graduated.
So the deal is I may not be available either. That's my last week here in Boston, but I think we're like coming back either the 9th or the 8th. I'm not really sure which. So if I can't do it, it means we would have to cancel that meeting. We wouldn't have a quorum. So I'm not
Right.
scheduling any public hearings for that night.
Yep.
What do you want to go ahead and just change the date?
Well, we could do that. Beth, would you be available if we met a different night? Like, well, that whole week is rough for me, I think.
Yeah, I was
How
gonna
about
say
how
the
about
8th, but you're not back yet on the 8th, so that doesn't
How about the
work.
Yeah, I
6th?
don't-
How about the 16th? I know it'll make us do 2 meetings in a row, but
That would be fine with me. And then we don't have to pile on quite as many things for that last one. I'd rather not have like 5 hearings in one night. So yes, so that's, what is the 16th? I can't see a calendar. Is that what it is? The next Thursday?
yes, it's the 16th.
Is that okay with everybody? Then I'll do it for the 16th.
I forgot to bring my
Oh.
calendar. I don't, the only thing I have in my
Robin, you
head
should
on the
always bring your
16th,
calendar. Robin, you should always bring your calendar.
I know. No, I had a frantic call from the University of Hawaii Federal Credit Union about some change, and I was really worried about it. So I was on the phone with them until right before the meeting. So I just ran upstairs on my computer and got set up.
Okay, well, let's
I
assume the
think-
16th will work and you'll let me know if it doesn't work.
I'm
Robin.
sure it'll work because I have nothing planned because that's my husband's birthday. And then the following week at our next meeting is our anniversary. So
Okay.
I'm in
How did we get so lucky?
I'm in Maryland on the 16th. I don't know my schedule that night, so that could be iffy, but I'm in Spain on the 9th. So that was definitely out.
Living the life, Scott.
I am
Yeah.
living the life for sure.
All right.
Racking up lots of flying miles is what you are.
Okay, so we are, next on our agenda is to talk with the residents, the homeowners for 26 Lake Drive about the amended order of conditions. Has everyone had a chance to read over the documentation that I forwarded?
Mhm.
yes,
Yep.
Okay. And I did draft, and I'll show a potential letter. So I think that what we need to decide tonight, just to summarize what our goal is, and then we'll give the landowners a chance to talk, is that we're not holding a public hearing tonight. This is not a public hearing. This is a preliminary meeting where we will hopefully have enough information to make a decision, a finding of whether or not we believe determine that the requested change is minor or major. If it's minor, then the next step in the required process is for a review with public access, which means there needs to be public notification and a legal notice and a butter notification, and then have a public hearing in which then we get down into the meat of the request and discussing the request, and then making a decision whether we're going to change the order or not. If we think it's a major change, then we would have to deny the amended order of conditions request and require a notice of intent. So really the question is it minor enough that a proposed amended change would still meet or exceed the protections of the interests accomplished by the original conditions in the order? That's really what the standard is either equivalent or even better, or an improvement upon. And that's kind of where we're at. I know there's been a lot of back and forth with emails, and I did go back and look at the last email and spend some time sort of poring over the original request for determination of applicability and the original notice of intent. And there is no indication in the original request for determination of applicability that the applicants were asking to pave the driveway. In fact, the site plan that was approved by that determination of applicability references a site plan that has notation. It indicates that the leach field was going to be mulched and seeded. So I think one of the problems that we need to review here is that there wasn't, even if there was discussion in a public hearing about paving, and even if the sanitation engineer said that paving wouldn't be deleterious to the leach field, that isn't what was approved by the determination of applicability. It references a site plan that indicates that the leach field was going to remain pervious. And then,
But Miriam, when can I jump in here? Because that's incorrect.
okay, I'm sorry, what?
That is very incorrect. Did you
Okay,
share the email today with the members?
I believe I did.
Okay.
So I'm just saying,
If
when
I
I
could,
look at, when
I
I
just-
look at the original file that we have for the determination of applicability, for the request for determination of applicability, which was in March of 2020, the site plan that was approved, the copy that we have has there's design notes, and in design note number 19 on that site plan, it says that the leach field is going to be seeded and mulched.
No, that's during construction. That's incorrect for permanent. I'd like to speak to the commission. We had a public hearing on March 12th. At that time, and I sent that to you today, and if everyone looks in the Shutesbury.org notes from the minutes from the meeting, March 12th Conservation Commission, we had our engineer there, as well as other professionals, to answer any questions. He mentioned, would it be pervious? And he said, no. And it's right there, very well laid out. He said it was designed to be paved because there should be no infiltration with respect to the leach field. Subsequently, we were trying to work with everybody, move forward, and we had the contractor, the Board of Health, and the engineer go haywire on us and said, if any water gets into that leach field, it will be ruined in 3 years. That's a $30,000 that we're about to write a check for. So that threw us for a loop. We said, okay, we can't do it. In addition to that, Miriam, you asked us to
You
come
can't
back with
do-
other stormwater
I
management
didn't understand,
features.
you can't do what? When you say you can't do it, you
You
can't.
cannot have it pervious. But if you look at, it was never supposed to be pervious from day one. I don't know where we got the pervious. Oh, because Penny Docks added that condition 6 months after she already had the discussion with the engineer in the public meeting. And he said, no, it was designed. If everybody would just read that, they'd understand that. But then she told Becky Torres, because I said, Becky, what do I do? And she said, I can't remember what I did 6 months ago. And Becky said she didn't review the minutes from that meeting. I'd like to ask everybody to please read those minutes. That's the road we went down.
Mhm. Can you show me or show us, if I pull up where on the design it says that the design is to be paved? Because usually when the commission approves driveway paving, the design indicates that there's going to be what kind of surface and what the construction phases.
Well, I don't have the blueprints in front of me. When I went to Greenfield, it says asphalt paving and what have you. That's the same thing I gave to the town of Shutesbury. And again, I love Shutesbury. I love the lake. I don't want to knock anybody, but there was so many miscommunications with Tessa Dowling and others. We're just trying to play by the rules. But here's the comment right here on the minutes. And it's March 12th, 2020. I'll just read you the one line. that it says, per Weiss, Alan Weiss, the engineer, per Weiss, what else? Per the Board of Health, per Weiss, the plan is to install the well first, then grade seed and straw the disturbed areas. After these steps, an erosion control for the septic system project will be installed. Weiss agrees with Jock's suggestion that using an erosion control sock is more suitable for the well installation due to its proximity to the bank. To Jock's question, Weiss explained that because of his design, it's allowable to pave over this leach field and that there will be plenty of surface area for recharge. There being no further questions, the commission agrees, issue a negative determination with conditions and to close the public meeting at 7:26. I think
So-
Alan, because he told me since, he said, I designed it to be paved.
So that's very different than saying it has to be paved. You know, you can have a
do you
leach
mean?
field where an engineer can say it's okay if it's paved, but I guess my question is, does it have to be paved? Are you?
Yes, the subsequent meetings, I'm just telling you, Alan Weiss said, Mike, that was designed to be paved. I don't want any infiltration there. And that's what threw the whole hullabaloo with the contractor and the
Can you
Board of
give-
Health.
Can you give us a letter from him?
I
Yes.
guess
Yes,
I'll go to anybody.
Yeah,
Just
that's
tell me,
important for us to know.
yes, yes. We'll get a letter. from
that's on the
Alan
public
Weiss.
record for Shutesbury. And it was pretty clear to me.
Okay.
And the contractor works with the engineer and they all know each other very well and everything else. And they work together. And I'm just saying, he said, of course you're going to pave it. And I said, no, slow down. I said, this is really getting crazy with the conditions and what happened. And that's when we got a call from Kaniecki saying, you are not to infiltrate that brand new septic system in any way possible. Again,
So.
you
Mike,
talked, Miriam, I wanted to do the
Mike-
stormwater management features. I offered to do 2 more new
Mike,
ones.
Let's stop.
Yeah, may I ask you a
Sure,
question?
but
Because really, you know, if we can't ask you questions, then we can't come to a conclusion.
okay,
So my understanding was that the feedback you received was that an infiltration trench could not be placed along the perimeter of the road because that would load too much water into the leach field. And that was not allowable, both by your septic engineer and also Charlie Konecki had written, and I guess Dennis, you gave us a letter from Dennis Clark saying that
yes.
it wasn't recommended. So that has to do with an infiltration trench. That's different from, that's really a separate issue from paving. So those are.
No,
things-
wait, time out. It's rainwater. It's any infiltration into the leach field. That's common sense. He designed it to have the flow, so there's no outside water into that leach field under the asphalt. So the asphalt takes it off, the rain hits it, it drains down the side, and that was all encapsulated in the engineer's design.
So again, we don't have any documentation in the site design saying that it has to be paved. That isn't what the site plan is that was submitted for the request for determination of applicability. So
It says asphalt paving on it, on the site
I
plan.
did not see anything on.
I
that
gave you a
site.
full set of drawings. I didn't have to give you the entire drawings. I gave you the whole building drawings, 24 pages of the house, which go through it in detail. It shows asphalt paving there, and the town has it.
I believe you gave me that for the note, that was what was submitted for the notice of intent. But for the RDA, the site plan was the design from Alan Weiss. It wasn't the whole house design. And there's nothing on that design that says asphalt paving.
I'll go get the
Well,
letter.
I just for what it's worth,
I can put it up on a screen, but it's really tiny print, so I don't think it would.
no,
be-
that's the recent design that with the added improvements that you asked us to do when we did. I'm talking about
No, I'm
Linda
talking,
Avid Scott has the full architectural drawings, the site plan, shows the previous existing house, everything under the sun.
When we filed for the notice of intent.
Correct.
yes, but we're talking about the request for determination of applicability,
Okay.
which happened 6 months
Whatever.
earlier.
Okay.
And
Okay,
that
you're
was in
asking
March
for,
of 20
right,
And the site plan, which is dated February 17th, 2020, The design was by Alan Weiss, Cold Spring Environmental, and there's nothing on that design.
Okay.
So I'm not getting into the NOI right now. I'm just trying to recreate the time frame around this discussion since you've raised the public hearing for the RDA.
Would it help then, Miriam, to get that letter from Alan?
Yeah, I think that it probably, I would like to hear from other commissioners, but I think that what the question we have is, must it be? I understand that it can be,
Mhm.
but must it be paved?
Mhm.
Is Alan saying that it won't function properly if there
Mhm.
isn't
Yes,
asphalt?
that's exactly what he's saying.
Okay, that would be helpful to have in writing, I think.
Okay,
Do other
all right.
people agree?
Yes.
Other
Okay.
people agree? So getting back to this question.
Mhm.
So the question we need to decide tonight is if it was something that has to happen
Right,
in order for it to function, that's would I think be probably falling under what we would call a minor change.
okay,
You would need to have a public hearing and you'd need to put a notice in the paper and notify all your butters because we can't change an order of conditions without public notification and an opportunity for public input and access. And the regulations require that we do that in this formal way. I understand that
Okay.
this is a meeting right now that we're in, that's a public meeting, but it's not the same.
Mhm.
Um,
So to just expedite on some things, I'll work on getting that letter from Alan, but in the meantime, are you suggesting that we move forward with requesting the abutters list and placing an ad for asphalt
I
paving?
think that the discussion we need to have as a commission tonight
Mhm.
is what we think is appropriate. So I think that I want to see, does anybody have any more questions? Does people feel like they understand this issue clearly enough for us to have a discussion right now?
I just had a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
If you put in the asphalt, how does that impact the water flow from the street onto the property?
We gave Miriam a detailed plan showing the water flow, and then we added 2 stormwater management features, which was an added cost of $7,000 on either side of the house, just to accommodate this. Although I would very much like to say that both the engineer, the contractor said, our ground is all sand over there, and it is the best drainage you can have for the lake. Nothing gets into the lake from our property. Again, we're happy to do that, just to put this thing to bed.
But we have submitted a site design, to Miriam and the commission.
Shows
So,
water flow, stormwater management added. This is brand new on each side of the house.
And that's what's,
And-
and that's what's
Everybody-
labeled infiltration trenches, correct?
that's right,
Everybody
that's
get
right,
a-
Mary.
I'm gonna, if it's okay with you guys, I'm gonna share the photographs. And maybe Robin and I can just share, we did the site visit and talk, describe some of our thoughts about looking at this.
Right.
Okay, and I'm gonna bring up the photos because not everybody on the commission has been to your site.
Miriam, did you share with everybody the plan, the site plan showing the?
Yes, I
new
did, sir.
Okay, good.
Can everybody see the photograph?
Yep.
So, I could pull up the design as well that you're recommending. So here's the road. This is your soil absorption system in front of the house. And this is the back of the house.
Mhm.
And, I just want to call attention for the commission to notice that in the order of conditions for the NOI, there was a requirement that the limit of work and the erosion controls be 15 feet from the bank. So as you can see, that is not exactly what's going on here.
Well, just to point out that the erosion socks were put behind the digging of the well. Well is, I
It
don't
came
know if,
first.
I don't know if you got a great shot of where the well is.
I'm just going to go through this and just
Okay.
hold off comments.
Sure,
so
okay,
that Robin
sorry.
and I can
Yep.
share what we saw.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
So
sorry.
here again is the bank.
Mhm.
And
Triple side.
Robin and I were measuring where the 15-foot line from the bank is, and it's about
Right.
halfway through the exposed area where there's a
Mhm.
lot of straw.
Mhm.
And then
Mhm.
this
A
is
lot of
going up
strong.
these are just a series of photographs going up one side of the house.
Mhm.
There's some downspouts. As you can see, there's a slope here. It's all disturbed sand. So right now there's very little vegetation existing around the site.
And there will be a ton when we're done
Well, it's not been graded. Yes. Yeah.
with loam, grass, everything.
And here's some straw bales and, the disturbance in the straw suggests that there has been water flow down this.
No,
slope.
we added that on our own just for extra protection.
Mhm.
There's been no disturbance.
No, she's saying here.
Oh,
I'm saying the straw's been
Right,
disturbed by water. flow.
yeah. Yes, right. We had a rainy
The
spring.
other, this is the other side of the house.
Mhm.
So, and here's a distance view. So this is looking from their parking area soil absorption system over to number 24. This is the other neighbor's leach field,
correct.
Mhm.
Whitney's.
out of gravel. And then across the street, you can see that there's a property with 2 driveways that enter onto Lake Drive. This is the long view of the road. There's the other driveway from across the street. So this is the property just to the right of them. As you can see, there's a retaining wall. So there isn't a lot of room for stormwater to enter onto that property. And this is again, the fence along their property. Here's another view of their neighbors, just to give you an idea of how it's landscaped. There's a retaining wall going along the lake, Lake Drive for that property. And then here's a distant view zoomed out
Yep.
and a little bit more of a view. So one of the things right here, I guess you can't see it so well. This is number 24. And as you can see, they've got a heat pump here. And I think that from your design, what you're talking about for an infiltration trench is going to be about right here where these
That's-
trees are.
That's right. Mhm.
So one
Yep.
of the things that Robin and I were wondering about when we were looking at this is, would a better approach to storm water be something a little farther up the hill,
Mhm.
including a rain garden or some feature like that that's landscaped with rock,
Mhm.
as opposed to an infiltration trench? Because it seems to like, it just seems like that would capture water sooner rather than having it flowing down to an infiltration.
Yeah,
halfway
yeah.
down the hill.
Here's the thing, we are working with our landscaper and all of those ideas
And
are,
Dennis Clark and
are-
Alan Weiss.
are being incorporated into the site, completing the site once it's
Hey,
graded.
They could be wrong. They felt like that was the best spot to put it to catch it as it comes down the hill and it won't go anywhere. But
But
that's the engineers.
our-
It's up to you.
Our plan also is to plant plants
Of
and
course.
plantings, to
Loam, grass.
everything up towards the road as well. So,
Robin, did you have any other more thoughts about this?
Well, I love the idea of the rain garden because when we were there, it just looked, a concern for me was it looked like the water could very easily just veer off onto the neighbor's property.
That
Because
won't happen.
of the footprint of the house is so big
mm,
that even though you have sand, there's
mhm.
not a lot of sandy space on either side of your
The
house.
footprint's
It would
only
have to be-
300 square feet larger than the previous cottage. It's just 3 levels.
Mhm.
But as far as the soil, because we put it in the middle, the
Of
former
the-
house was over to the right of the
Yeah.
property line.
Right.
And it was,
We
we
had to meet the setback, so
Well,
that's where the
we
house
built
had to be
according
placed.
to right, we
Yeah.
didn't build on the existing property line.
We build by
And that's
right.
shown on the site plan that the town has.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's called a rain garden, but that is of the ilk that we're thinking of. In addition to the infiltration trenches, so.
I
both.
need to stop for a sec. I'm looking at 7:30. So we have to open the public hearing and continue it for the Montague Carver NRAD. So if you can just pause this discussion for one moment.
Okay.
Okay.
And I don't think there's anybody here for that because TRC is not here tonight. So I spoke with Maria and we're going to be continuing it to June 23rd because they just did the site visit this last week and they haven't updated the maps. So Emily Stockman has not had an opportunity to give us her feedback from the site visit. So TRC asked to continue the meeting. So that is the plan. So I believe, let me make sure I have the time right for us. So for the June 23rd, I have no idea what time I told them. I'm gonna say it's 7:30.
You'd be correct, yes.
Is it 7:30?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right, somebody make a motion for us to continue the Montague Carver ANRAD to 7:30 on June 23rd.
I'll make a motion that we continue that until June 23rd.
Okay, second.
I second.
Okay, David,
Aye.
Defont, I, Harrington,
Aye.
Khan,
Hi,
Wilson.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. All right, back to this. So it sounds like, you know, you have a sense that those infiltration trenches are the best approach to go with, as opposed to a rain garden or something else. I think the other questions that I would have for the public hearing, and we could talk about this at the public hearing, is whether there is some sort of compromise that we could reach in terms of the extent of paving that would allow some paved parking area, as well as perhaps some vegetated surface or pervious.
Well, wait a
surface.
second. We already limited the parking. We went over the leach field to the right, not going all the way across the lot, which was our preference. I have a very large family that will be visiting all the time. So we have 80 feet across the front of the lot. I think the paving was only like 60 or 50 or 60. And we do want to make it attractive, and we will make it very attractive. You take pictures in 6 months when it's done, you'll be stunned by the landscaping.
So a parking area typically for a single car can be 10 by 20. So the
It
question.
depends
is-
what zone you're in, but here in Maryland, it's more than that. But anyway, go ahead.
So I was just wondering, you certainly, you know, you could have a pervious parking area and a partially paved parking area. It doesn't have to be all impervious.
It's no big deal.
Mhm. Okay,
It's only an extra 10 feet or whatever, but again, we're gonna put the stormwater management controls in. Handle the water, protect the neighbors, nothing's going into that lake because it's all sand. And we're gonna landscape the heck out of it.
Mhm.
But we still have work to do to get everything done.
yeah,
And then before I come back and say, okay, I'll put, 15 trees in and we'll sod it and we'll do this feature here and there and put bushes up here. It's hard to do right now.
Mhm.
been 2.5 years trying through COVID. It's been very trying.
And inflation hasn't helped.
Okay.
Okay,
So I'd like to pause the public comment now with the landowners, unless you feel like you've had enough opportunity to say what you need to say, and then I would like to have some discussion with the commission.
No problem.
Okay.
thank you.
It's muted.
What I'd like to hear from people, how you'd like to proceed. I think that, we have two things we need to do here. One is the existing order of conditions required them to propose an infiltration trench that we would approve. So that I think that, we could approve those two infiltration trenches under the existing order of conditions, because that was what was required. They were supposed to come back to us with a proposal, which they've done. The piece that is not under the existing order of conditions is that they're asking to put an impervious surface on the leach field. And the order of conditions specifically disallows that and makes it clear in the findings that it was in compensation for stormwater issues and the increased footprint of the house. It doesn't say that it was disallowing it because the septic system required it.
Right, and when we were there and you already showed the picture, there's the neighbors with the same sort of functional layout, and they had sort of the leveled gravel covered
Looks like
parking.
both sides.
Yeah.
Maybe the one to the right of them, number. 13.
Definitely the one, if we're looking at the
24.
lake, the one to the left.
Yeah, 24. And
Right.
maybe 28 as well. I can't remember.
And I guess the thing that had concerned me was the combination of the paving at the top, but not a lot of area on either side of the house going down.
Right.
So it depends on how efficient their rain gardens and vegetation and how pervious that sand is to water, like how efficient it's really going to be to stopping the water. And it could be fine, but I just remember walking away from there and with you and being like, what?
As we know, it gets complicated, and we've had this, when you have a paved surface up against a road that's not paved, it's possible for there to become sort of berming happening from erosion on the lake, that you can end up, the erosion on the road, you can end up getting kind of, the pavement becomes a berm, even if it wasn't intentional. And sometimes people berm pavement intentionally, but even if you're not doing it intentionally, just the natural process of the erosion of the road can lead to that. So obviously that would be a concern.
Can I ask Miriam and Robin, since you were there, I'm wondering on the infiltration trenches as they relate to the septic system at the leach field, will the flow from the leach field be directed towards those infiltration trenches? And do they have any features in them to prevent sedimentation into the lake? Because that's what we're
That's-
primarily concerned with, right?
I mean, the way it looked to me, Scott, and I didn't pull up, let me see if I can pull up. Carrie, you don't happen to have their site plan handy, do you?
The one that they're proposing currently?
Yeah.
Yes, I do have it on hand. Hold on.
Can you pull it up and put it on screen share?
And please let me know if this is the incorrect one, but I believe it's
It's the sketch with the color coding on it.
yes. Okay, then it is the right one.
Of course, I can't point to things. All right.
Everyone
so
see it?
This. All right, and can you scroll down a little bit? Okay, thanks. So the red area is the infiltration trenches. And I guess my concern is that, and I'm not sure what this blue line, that blue arc is. What is that? Is that like your well?
Yes, well,
That's the
water line.
Well, yeah, so.
And the other light blue lines are direction of surface drainage.
Surface flow, so you'd have to grade it at an angle to direct all of that water, but as you could see from the photographs, there's a change in grade from Lake Drive down to the bank of the lake, and I think it's going to be tricky to get all of the stormwater to go into those basins. I think those trenches, the trenches protect the houses. And certainly would maybe protect from stormwater flow getting into number 24 heat pump, which is right in front of their house. And it's just directly downhill. But I would think that you'd want to have some terracing with some hardscaping and some rain garden landscaping on both sides to break up that flow and slow it down.
Wait, no, wait, let's see what he said.
Does that answer your question, Scott?
Yeah, well, partially, I think, so I'm looking at this design and I'm hearing the landowners, what they've designed, and they've obviously spent time with engineers and landscapers to think about water flow here as it relates to, protecting the additional, the neighboring houses from, water flowing onto their lots or impacting those. But I'm still left with of course, our responsibility is to to safeguard the health of the wetland of the lake itself. And I'm still not sure that I understand, you know, with the increased water, as I understand it, that regardless of, you know, whether or not the septic system necessitates an impervious layer on top of it, which would be new to me, but if that, assuming that we get that letter from the architect or the designer there, I'm still left with wondering, with all that water coming down, you know, from directing it to these surface trenches and then shooting it out into the lake, if it's going to look like so many of the other issues that we're dealing with in the lake, with sediment going directly into the lake and trying to manage, you know, that impact to the resource area. And
Right,
so
so
that's,
long linear, these are long linear features as opposed to something that would kind of slow the water down. It's also, you know, it seems to me that flow could bypass those infiltration trenches. If
I
you've
guess
got-
that's, yeah, so that's
if
really
you've
my,
got flow going, if you have flow going perpendicular to the grade, at least the existing grade right now, then it would bypass those infiltration trenches. So, you know,
And the trenches could go that way.
right. And you've got gutters with down pipes as well.
I spent so much time with the engineers. I just got to tell you, going over this, they also said we have another 40 feet in front of all sand. So nothing would go into the lake.
Okay.
A lot of money for that.
I want to hear from the other commissioners.
Okay,
Because
good,
we're deliberating right now. So I'm going to just ask you to wait and raise your hand if you want to be recognized. But right now, this is. for-
Okay, no problem.
We have to reach a decision, and that's what we're doing. Carrie, you can stop sharing, I think, at this point.
I'm wondering about, just looking at that design, about some kind of swales actually along the sides of the paved areas. And I just don't know if you can do that if it's a leach field. Like, I'm not sure if they could, you know, create sort of a lower area right along that side of the paved side of the leach field that's on the lake side, just because it's a leach field.
I don't know.
But to have some kind of capture of the drainage right close to the pavement is probably the best place to actually try to do it.
That was that's what we had been thinking about.
Yeah.
Mm.
And it maybe it's both. I guess what would be helpful for me is if we could see the whole landscaping plan, if there's a plan to do landscaping or hardscaping or some retaining walls or something, to see what that would look like in relation to these infiltration trenches. It's really hard to kind of visualize it without seeing it laid out to see what they're planning. So
And the paved part won't be berming to the
So-
road, correct?
what?
So the part that's being paved is not going to create a berming effect with the road.
Well, we could put that as a condition that they wouldn't be allowed to berm, but as you know, from looking at other parts of that road, if you have water flow on the road, it can erode gullies on the sides of the road.
Mhm.
You get this kind of crowning effect, and then you end up with kind of a de facto berms, even if it wasn't intended to be a berm. I mean, that's an issue along Lake Drive in general. There's a lot of that kind of
Right.
natural erosion berming, which wasn't intentional. So let's just unpack this. So we need to make a decision. They proposed an infiltration trench. What we need to say to make a decision is, do we approve this infiltration trench? And are we determining that they have met that condition or not? If we are not satisfied with it, if we want more information, if we want them to revise it, then we would not approve that under the existing order of conditions. So that's the first question. So before we get to the paving part, let's figure that piece out.
I think I kind of agree that it doesn't seem like it could quite deal with the amount of drainage that might come off the pavement. And that it might, if their engineers could take a second look at doing something closer to the pavement, maybe doing something that's more horizontal instead of vertical, that could catch the water up top before it even gets to the sides of the houses. That would be, I'd like to maybe see a little bit of a change.
So,
Right, and Miriam had the photos that showed the driveways across the street are sloped down. So all that water is going across the street onto their property. Not that that's their fault,
no,
but it's more water that is going to be
right, it's, and
going across.
it's, you know, it's true of many of the properties on that road, but it is one of the conditions that affect the lake is that there's a lot of concentrated stormwater flow. So that would mean our making a determination, and I want to make sure that we make really clear about it, that if we feel that this condition is incomplete, and we should be clear about what we're looking for and what we want them to do differently, or to what we were asking them to come back to us with. And I started drafting a letter because I want to make sure we're really clear and putting things in writing. So we can put that in the letter. What would we be asking for? Saying we would like to see what? A landscaping plan? We'd like to see the infiltration trenches in the context of a landscaping plan?
Yeah, and maybe just an additional drainage features closer to the top of the property.
Additional stormwater, not drainage, but retention, right? Or
Sure.
detention. What do is it retention or detention if there's no outlet? Help me.
It's,
Stormwater features, we'll just leave that.
yeah, because it can be either.
Or infiltration? And what's the,
Infiltration, stormwater infiltration. What do you think, Janice? You haven't commented.
well, that's what I was wondering, if it might be infiltration. I'm not
Mhm.
exactly sure. I don't think you want retention, because retention basins are usually where there's standing water for extended periods.
Right,
Well, and I think we don't necessarily want to tell them what kind of feature to create. We
No.
just say we would like some additional drainage features. We'd like to
Yeah.
look at some options of additional drainage features on the
okay.
top of the property.
And my feeling about that is that this piece of it does not have to be done in a public hearing because it's already falling under the existing order of conditions. We can do it a little bit more informally, that they could come back to us and we could have more of a give and take. And it doesn't have, because we're not changing the order of conditions for this particular issue. Anna, you've got your hand raised. What do you think about that piece of it? Is that acceptable to you?
Well, I mean, I was trying to take copious notes as you were talking because you guys were talking pretty fast. A landscaping plan was not part of our original order of conditions.
Mhm.
Photographs of native plants was in our original order of conditions. So are you adding that now, Miriam?
Well,
Because we were never asked to provide, and it was never approved and sealed, signed, sealed, and delivered about a plan. We were offering commentary to assuage and to confirm with the commission that this isn't one and done. I get a little worried when there are comments made about the infiltration trenches to go this way, not that way. It's like, what are the credentials of the people that are suggesting that? I'm all for additional landscaping. You mentioned terracing. I just haven't had a chance to do landscaping because I need my site, completed. You
Right.
asked for an infiltration trench design. We've given you one. This gentleman happens to do this kind of work forever and is very qualified. I think he's thought through all those things.
So if we go back to when this, we change it,
We can nitpick this all we want.
it's another 3,000.
I have not been given a chance to have this property graded and my landscaping design implemented. And I'm asking the commission to consider that we have met the objectives of providing you with the design for infiltration trenches, and I want to be able to move forward. If I need to pull back on the asphalt, I will. But I want to continue so I can get this lot graded and address all this water that comes from my neighbor behind me and that Lake Drive, because I don't want to be held to a different standard than anyone else on Lake Drive. And I feel that we are really going down a rabbit hole right now. And I'm sorry, but we've spent a tremendous amount of time and money and effort on this. And I could think of a million things that we could do. We're going to do everything we can to satisfy protecting the resource, which is the lake. But I got to get this site done. I've got to get it graded. I've got to get it terraced, to your point. I've got to add plants. I've got to add rock gardens. I want to do all that. I can't do it if you don't approve my infiltration plan. Can't do it. I mean, I'm back at square one.
Okay. Let's just hold off. Let me talk with the commission then, please. Thank you. I think in some ways it would have been helpful if the landowners had brought their designer with them, who's designed the infiltration trench, because it would be helpful to hear what the thinking and thought process was of it. And we're not able to do that unless we ask them to come back and maybe bring their, I don't know if it's Dennis Clark or who is doing the design work, but asking them to bring that person to the hearing, or not to the meeting, to a meeting. What do you guys want to do? Scott, you got your hand raised.
Scott.
I have some thoughts, but Mary, did you want to go first?
Nope, I was just gonna say Scott had his hand up. Sometimes Miriam can't see the hand, so.
Yeah. I really appreciate the conversation and where the landowners are at on this too. I think if I'm understanding this right, the commission had previously approved, this plan with the infiltration trenches as designed as they are right now. However, one of the conditions was the impervious surface on the leach field. And so in my mind, I think I kind of look at these two issues are tied together. I would think that they could move forward as it was previously permitted with the existing infiltration trenches and the impervious surface on the leach field, and that would be an option for them to do.
Wait, I didn't quite understand what you just said, Scott.
You didn't understand what I said?
Yeah, you said with the previously approved, but those weren't approved. We didn't approve an infiltration trench.
Oh, I thought that the infiltration trenches were part of the original
No,
order.
all
of
the
conditions.
order, the conditions said that they needed to come back with us with a design to be
Gotcha.
approved at a later date. So that's kind of where we are now, is are we approving that or not?
Well, and I guess so.
And the order of conditions did not approve an impervious surface. It in fact said
Yeah.
no impervious. surface.
Understand that. So let me just kind of get to the point then, and where I would be at this. I think, to me, what we would care most about is what is the condition of the stormwater going to be coming out of those infiltration trenches into the lake. And I think I certainly don't have the credentials to analyze that, but I think that's what I would be asking the landowners for their engineers to come back to be saying that they're going to be managing the stormwater, that they're going to be incorporating features into this site as a whole, the impervious surface and the infiltration trenches, to ensure that the water coming into the lake is not carrying a sediment load.
Mhm. So if I'm hearing you correctly, you're thinking that you think these two issues should be tied together, and that they should come back with a whole integrated proposal, including the driveway and stormwater management.
I think and I'm just throwing this out there for consideration. My thought is they are tied together because it's all part of the same
Yeah.
project, and that ultimately I think it could be something as simple as a letter from their engineer saying that they have looked at it, that they've looked at the water flow coming over and looking at all of the features there that they're designing into those infiltration trenches, the necessary gradient or features to ensure that we're not going to have sedimentation into the lake.
I guess I would like, rather than having a letter, because I think that it's hard to, if we have any questions, we can't ask any questions if there's just a letter. And it would be a lot better if we had actually their contractor at the hearing, so that we could have a give and take.
Yeah.
I think that
Sure.
would be helpful so that we're not stuck with, gee, we aren't really sure what this means, or we have another thought, but we can't talk to them about it. So what that would mean is for us to make a determination that the request, that we are not approving the infiltration trench at the present time, but are requiring that the whole proposal be reviewed in a public hearing as one consolidated plan change, including the addition of a impervious surface and some changes to, this proposed stormwater system, and that then we would review that in a public hearing. Is that kind of what you're thinking, Scott? Does that make sense?
Public hearing with their person to be able
With-
to explain it a little more in
With
detail
their
to us.
engineer present?
Yeah, I think that I like that idea, just from the standpoint of trying to, as you know, I think the landowner is saying, putting this to bed. I think it would just be nice to get everyone there, have the expert there. We can ask the questions we need to and move forward.
Okay, what do you think, Beth and Robin?
I agree with that.
Yep.
So then
think
what I want to
good.
do is I've drafted a letter, but we need to change it. So what I would like to do is pull up that letter and edit it with you guys, so that we can send it out to the landowner. Is that okay?
Yep.
And let me see if I can screen share it. Hang on one second, if I can find it. All right, and forgive me, there's land.
I think Miriam may be frozen.
Mhm.
This is when I think we need to invest in some hold music. My guess is she probably lost her connection and will rejoin. So we'll just,
Right here.
There we go.
Got booted out when I tried to screen share. So let me try again. Thank you. I'm co-hosting. Let me see if I can find that letter. So this would be the draft for 26. Okay. All right. So you guys can see this letter? All right. So commission received your request on March 15th. We understand you wish to amend special conditions 7 and 8, including approval of an alternative location for stormwater infiltration trenches and the addition of an impervious surface to your parking area septic leach field. In reviewing the March 13th, 2020 determination of applicability and the 10/16/20 order of conditions, we've determined that the commission never approved an impervious pavement for the SAS. Now, I think that that's safe to say, perhaps there was a misunderstanding, and the designer, Alan Weiss, actually did say that you had to have it. And there was a misunderstanding. The commission didn't understand that, but I think the reality is they never approved it. So this is just, kind of summarizing the facts as we've found them. The RDA approved a site plan that indicates that the SAS was to be mulched and seeded, notwithstanding any comments reflected in the approved minutes. the determination approved only the reference site plan. The commission also finds that the order of conditions specifically disallowed an impervious surface to the SAS, not because of septic design considerations, but to address stormwater runoff and the project's enlargement of the house footprint on a small and environmentally sensitive lot. So that's kind of just summarizing what the order of conditions
Right.
says. You guys following me? So the commission finds that the requested addition of here we can change it. The requested changes, because we're, the requested changes, including an impervious service to the SAS and the construction of 2 stormwater features are a minor, is that what we're saying? We're not requiring them to file a notice of intent, or are a minor change. That makes sense?
Yes.
A minor change and must be reviewed together in context with an overall landscaping plan. Landscaping and stormwater plan. And for the site. Does that capture it? Okay.
I just want to point out, Miriam, and I'm not supposed to talk, that is a new request from the commission. We have never been asked to provide, it was not in our conditions to provide a landscaping plan. You are adding something now. Correct?
What we are,
No, just answer that, please. Is that a new condition, a landscaping plan? That was not in the order of conditions that are
well,
registered?
let me back, I'm gonna back up and just saying that you're requesting these 2 changes, and really what we're saying is that they must be reviewed together in context, period. Let's leave it at that.
That's
because
fine.
The
Thank
point
you.
is that you understand that when we have a public hearing and we review this, we may add conditions that you didn't intend or weren't requesting, that when we reopen the public hearing and review the order of conditions, we may grant what you're asking. We may require something different. Because that's just the nature of amending the order of conditions. We're changing the order of conditions.
Okay,
We
for
may
intents and
approve.
purposes tonight, okay, gotcha.
I just want you to understand that when we have a public hearing to amend an order of conditions, that doesn't mean that you're going to write the new order of conditions and we're going to grant them exactly as you would like to see them. We are going to work with you. We want to make you happy if we can. We want to find the happy medium that protects the interests of the wetlands and also allows you as a landowner to use your property and enjoy your property. So, that's the balancing act that we are attempting, and we certainly will do our best to find the best compromise possible. But that doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to approve everything that you might
I
want.
understand that, but I also asked you if I needed to have our contractor or anybody on this call tonight, and you said no. So that's fine. I'm happy to bring him to the next meeting.
I don't think you need to. I said no because I think that would be more appropriate for a public hearing.
Okay.
Okay. So, guys, for this language, does this seem okay? Then we can just say, for this reason, the commission requires a public hearing to review both changes or review all of the requested changes.
Yes.
Okay, then this is, take this language out because we have probably said that already. We're not going to do that. Based on the discussion at our 5/12/22 meeting, we recommend that that you consider providing additional documentation and or testimony from your consultants. At the public hearing. How does that sound?
Yep.
That capture it?
Yep.
Yep.
Jeff, you're okay with that? Okay, I think that, so get rid of the yellow and then, okay, so I don't know that we need to get into what's required for the public hearing. Anna and Mike, do you understand what you need to do in terms of posting and advertising?
Yes, are we to do that now before the May 25th meeting?
Yes, if we want to do this on May 26th,
Yes,
okay.
yes.
So,
Yeah.
what I would propose is that we do this Thursday, May 26th at 7:30.
Mm-hmm.
You already, I know that you already did a legal notice for your notice of intent, but that was 2 years ago and the abutters may be different. So you're gonna have to contact the assessor's office.
Did that today.
Okay, great.
Mhm.
There's no fees. We're not charging you anything. I do want you to understand that many towns do charge fees for amended orders of conditions. So I understand this is an added expense for you, but
Mhm.
there are many towns that do this for the applicant, but then they charge fees for it. And so we have not charged fees for things like this because we understand there's an expense for you.
So
but,
in the legal notice, Miriam, what am I actually writing in?
there is a template on the town
Right.
website.
I saw it, but
And
what am I,
did I send you? I thought I sent you the language, the template. Did I not send it to you?
no, I got the forms and I
Okay,
see where I have to fill it in.
I'm gonna send you a template.
Okay,
I'll send you
right,
I'll tell you what, I will send you a template tonight or tomorrow
Okay.
morning.
great.
If I don't get it to you tomorrow morning, I will get it to you in the afternoon. You may not know this, you wouldn't have no reason to know this, but I'm currently at Dana-Farber Cancer Institute with my husband who's undergoing cancer treatment, and I'm basically spending 40
I'm
hours a
very-
week in a hospital with my husband.
No, I'm very sorry.
So,
Very sorry.
I don't always have access to a computer, but I will try to take care of this tonight.
Okay,
And
Thank you, and I'm very
we will send this letter to you.
Okay.
So at the public hearing, we will review your request. You'll have an opportunity to present information about the request. You can bring a representative if you wish, and I would recommend it. And really, I understand that that's a nuisance and kind of could be expensive, but I think we want to make sure that we're all on the same page and we
Mhm.
all understand what needs to happen.
okay.
So I think it would be wise. So, and
Okay.
then the only other thing I put in here, and I don't think that we need to put this in this letter, but since you're here, I did have some concerns about where the erosion socks are based on the order of conditions, because the order of conditions suggested that the limit of work was supposed to be 15 feet away from the bank. But there's disturbed soils going all the way up to the bank right now.
Mhm. Well, I mean, we'll address it. We had to have space for the workmen to come back in to build, to build that portion of the house and the well. So, they're done now. So we can move that up.
Okay. And the long-term plan is per the order of conditions that you're going to put in a 5-foot vegetated border.
That's the only one.
Mhm.
Is that right?
Well, we have to wait till, right? We have to wait till it's all graded and, all that, right? Or am I doing that now?
If you're finished with that phase of your construction, you can start planting.
Yeah.
Anyone else on the lake have that? Did
I
Matt
don't
have
know.
that?
I don't
Warwick?
know. I don't know.
That's.
Oh. I'll talk to my landscaper about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Does this letter seem all right to you guys? Do you want to, can we get a motion to approve it?
I'll make a motion to approve the letter that we just reviewed
As
regarding Lake Drive, conditions at Lake Drive.
Okay. Second, oh, you have your hand raised, Anna.
Oh, it's all right. I will lower it.
Okay.
There you go. Lowered.
All right. And is there a second?
I second.
Okay, great. David,
Aye.
DeFont, I, Harrington,
Aye.
Khan,
Aye.
and Wilson.
Aye.
Okay. All right, Carrie, would you be able, if I send you the documents tomorrow, can you send them out certified mail return receipt?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
Can I get a copy of that email though? I'd like to get that sooner than later. We're actually gonna be
Yeah, when I
traveling.
send it to Carrie, I will CC you as well, so you'll get. a
Yeah,
copy.
because we're on the road tomorrow up to Shutesbury,
Okay, I will. send
coming
it.
up. Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm trying to find where my agenda went to, so give me one sec. I know we have a 9 o'clock hearing, but here we go. This is it. Okay, so next on the agenda, and we're running a little late, was that we were going to talk with Joe Salvador about his amended order of conditions. So Joe, are you there?
Hello.
Hi, Joe. So we're kind of in the same position of wanting to decide whether or not the request that you've made is a major or minor condition, major or minor change, and whether we can do it through a public hearing process or whether we can do it requiring a new notice of intent. Personally, I don't think it requires a notice of intent.
Thank you.
But I would not advise the commission to approve the change without a public hearing, because it was a perpetual condition and because it was a compensatory condition because of concerns around degradation on the site. I think we need to have a public hearing about what we think would be the best approach.
Even though everything you've asked me to do, I've done above and beyond. I mean, I've showed that, yeah, I may have made a mistake, but I've done everything I could so far to correct it. And I've been working with the commission since day one.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to make it as easy as possible. This project's been going on a long time.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate that, and we appreciate your wanting to do the right thing and to work with us. And we're glad to hear that, Joe. I guess my question for you is, and we can talk about this more at the public hearing, but maybe you can think about this, is that it seems to me that any changes that we would want to approve, we would want to make sure that there was no damage done to the resource areas, and that putting boulders in some of these locations to create a perimeter line might require heavy equipment moving into the habitat that we were trying to protect. And we're wondering.
Let me answer that one, because the drawing showed that most of the boulders are right on the edge of where the silt fence is right now. And where the machines would be driving wouldn't be in the area that you are trying to protect. I don't know if that makes a difference for you.
Well, we were having pins placed along the A-series, the boundary of the A-series bordering vegetated wetland around your septic system, and then going up into the woods past where your well is. And so that would require a machine to move those boulders into those resource areas.
Well, the machine, I got 2 machines that are gonna be working on the house. One of them is actually a crane, because they're gonna be putting in the post and beam.
Mhm.
So they're gonna drop it in, and the other one is a high lift, which has about a 45-foot extension. So I think between the 2 machines, they can put a rock big enough that no one can ever move it without damaging anything from a distance.
But how are you going to get to those spots without going down along the bottom of your septic system where that erosion?
Well, the septic system is close to the house. The other part is the leach field. So the machine that would be bringing it at the end of the leach field where comes from the road drain that the town put there, that is not actually on my septic tank, it's on the leach field. And then at that point, if the machine overweights, I could put a mat down or something, because I don't want to ruin my leach field. Wouldn't do anything to ruin anything I spent a lot of money on. But because of the machines that are there, they have a pretty long reach to them where they can place them pretty easily. Again, we're talking rocks big enough for people can't pick them up and move them.
So the top of your leach field is quite a bit higher than the slope where the line was for the no development zone. And I don't think the equipment you're talking about could lower down. It's more than.
Well, the crane works on with a doesn't work like a regular lift. It's got a boom that goes up and down. That's how they drop the beams in.
But you can't put that crane on top of your leach field. How are you going to get down to the bottom of that hill without some equipment going down to the bottom of the hill to move rocks?
That crane, they put a mat. If they have to put a mat down, they have to get a mat. My brother runs a construction company, so I have access to everything. And for one thing, I would never do anything that's going to ruin a septic system that I spent $30,000 for. So I'm not going to do something that's going to ruin part of the property that I have. So I'll get the right equipment to drop it into place.
Can I ask a question? This is Kathy Salvador. If boulders aren't a consideration, is there anything else that the commission may have discussed as an alternative to the iron pins that we just feel are a safety hazard?
Plus a lawyer.
So, I think that, we didn't review in the public hearing, we didn't review any plans for heavy equipment to be moving boulders. I'm not saying we wouldn't approve it, Joe. We're not approving or disapproving it right now. I'm just saying that moving heavy equipment to get into some of those very difficult areas where there's some very sensitive habitat that we're trying to protect, we would have I think want a lot of information about what that impact would look like. I understand that you don't want to injure your septic system, and that's kind of not what we're really focusing on. I think is really our concern is the protection of the habitat, the wetland habitat.
I got an idea, quick idea that may work for everybody.
But let me just finish what I was going to say, because I wanted to respond to Kathleen's or Kathy's. Is it Kathy or Kathleen?
Just Kathy, that's fine. I'm not that formal.
So I think one of the questions I would have is if there's a happy medium that could be reached with maybe a combination of some boulders being placed in areas where they can be placed without impacting wetland habitat, for example, nearer to the house where people are more likely to be moving around, and maybe having fewer pins, perhaps enough to establish a line that can be re-established and confirmed in the future. So that was one question to think about. The other is I did do a little research about what kind of survey pins are possible. And usually the idea is to have them tall enough so people see them and to have them marked with high visibility paint so that they aren't like hidden in the forest stuff where somebody might not see them and they might trip over them. We've had a problem as a commission with perpetual conditions like this where we were unable to locate some pins on a similar site, and ended up having to have the applicant put in new pins because if you remember, this was over on Sand Hill Road. We spent hours searching in the woods and somebody had to go out with metal detectors to find the pins because after 20 years, a lot of forest debris had buried them. There are some survey pins that you can get that are have a metal post or iron rebar, but they're covered in a PVC casing. So they have smooth edges and they're white. They can come in different colors, but wouldn't have any hard edges and would be very clear. Nobody would mistake them for a stick or a log.
So Marion,
I found
right,
I could show you.
the idea of putting, I can put boulders, well, I'll work along with you, and I've been working with the board. Put boulders where I can reach with the machine without any impact to the septic system.
Or the wetlands.
Or the wetlands. And in the corners where you're saying, I put pins, but not as many of them, but able to read them, the line.
Yeah, let me
I think I could go out to work with that.
Janice, I see that you've got your hand raised. So I don't want to ignore you. I'm just going to show this picture. Do you see what I put up?
Yeah.
So this is a company that makes these things. They come in different colors. And they're actually designed to mark environmentally sensitive areas. That's what they're intended for. So, you know, there's some different kind of products, but there's something like this where, you know, nobody would trip over this. And some of them, the entire metal part is encased in plastic, so there aren't any sharp or rusting edges to it. Janice, go ahead.
Okay, so that's interesting. I haven't seen that one before, and that seems pretty reasonable. I was going to suggest otherwise that what we did in the past was concrete bounds, which would be trying to guess how high, 18 inches or something out of the ground, and you know, another foot or more in the ground, and has some kind of an iron rod in it so that you can still use a metal detector to find them. You can paint the tops of them. So they're not trip proof, but they're a little more substantial, so people will see them, not as pointed, you know, just that sort of thing. Was just another thing that we have used in some places.
This is the product I was thinking about. So as you can see, it says PVC sleeve that goes over a metal T-post. They're not very expensive. And these are particularly designed or marketed for high visibility for protecting habitat, environmentally sensitive areas.
Am I reading this right? Are these stakes $610 a piece if you're only ordering 1 to 4?
I have no idea. No, it's for 24 stakes per box.
24.
Oh, box of
And
24. Okay.
That's for 24. And I there might be other products like that.
Limit the amount
So
of box guy in the house where the kids are gonna go to.
Yeah. So I guess Joe and I were just talking, I guess if we could come up with some combination of the two proposed solutions, those stakes in some spots and boulders where we can safely put them and not bother the
And
wetlands.
more apt where the kids that would be walking in the back wouldn't be by them.
Right.
See, our concern is we don't want someone to trip and fall into these things. So in the
I mean,
back
my
of the house,
concern-
people are more apt to walk to the water. We'll put the boulders that we can fit there because that's an easy location, and put them as far as we can. And then the areas where we find that it's going to be harder to probably place the boulder in, we'll put those stakes that you just showed.
Yeah, those look a lot better than what I had in my head, 24 inches rebar.
My concern is, and we could talk about this, is that, you know, that any kind of physical barrier that you use, if it's going to be boulders, that it not be something that people could move.
No, these won't be moved.
Right.
And
These will
have
not be
some-
moved.
have some fixed points so that if you sell the property and the commission needs to go out and reestablish the line 10 years from now or 20 years from now, it'll be clear where that line was supposed to be. So there need to be some fixed reference points that can't be moved. That would be iron pins of some sort, or they could be covered with these material or something like that. Some combination.
Well,
In your research, looking at those pins, is there a way or is there an option to put pins in that aren't quite so, that look a little bit more natural to the location, so that it doesn't look like an
They're not
outgoing.
very, they're not very scenic. They're not very, the aesthetic is not great. I think the point is that they're supposed to be high visibility, so they don't blend into a forest habitat. But I think that there could be fewer of them, and still establish a line.
I like
probably.
that idea.
Okay, all right.
I can work with that idea. And actually on the property, because I know the board's walked it enough times, there's a lot of areas. Yeah, the commission's walked on it. There's a lot of areas on it already that, like the corner of the stone wall could be a marking point that's never going to move, where they used to have a dam.
You
Those
could
are-
build a stone wall. You could just build a stone wall along that. How about that? You've got all the boulders, you know.
Well,
Yeah.
if the pins look really gaudy, we may end up going that route. And we'll have to start the process all over again.
Okay.
But the key is my wife would want it to be really perfect wall, and that would be really expensive.
So the question is, we need to, we did put this in a lot of detail in the order of conditions, and so we would need to amend the order of conditions, and we need to have a public hearing.
Mhm.
And I think we would need to have based on the conversation we're having tonight, it sounds like you may want to revise what you're proposing.
Mhm.
So what I would like to suggest is that you go ahead and do that revision, and that we schedule the public hearing, go forward tonight and figure out the time for the public hearing. And I think what I was considering, let me look at my notes for public dates, for agenda. So, on the 26th, we've got the 26th Lake Drive order of conditions, public hearing at 7:30. Do you want me to schedule you for 8:15?
Yes,
Okay, and you can do the public notice and the abutters
Yep.
notifications. And I know that you did by hand affidavit when you noticed your abutters before.
we'll do it by certified mail this time.
I think you have to because of the bylaw, unfortunately,
Mhm.
we find out from our town council. Okay,
Okay.
is
I
that
have-
sound okay to the commissioners? Okay,
I have one question. When you're doing a site visit on Sunday, right?
I think that's the plan, as we will come out.
At the same time, can we go over where you think you would like to see the markers at that point, so we can put it right on the plan, so we're not going around in a circle again?
That sounds like a great idea.
So we're working together to get something done for
Yep.
to achieve
I
the
do
same.
want to, I'm going to pull up the letter that we're going to send to you, Joe, because there's a couple of things I do want to bring up while we're here. One is, so commissioners, do we agree that that this is a minor change that would require a public hearing? Yes. Every commission agrees?
Yes.
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 Looking over your order of conditions, I know that you sent us an email, Joe, saying that you had read over the order of conditions, but I think that in order to satisfy that condition, we're really going to need a hard copy letter with a wet signature
Okay,
files. Regarding special condition 21, I'm sorry, special condition 12, I think you've given us an amended site plan with the added erosion controls. Has everyone had a chance to look at those? Do we accept them? Do we want to approve those as satisfying that condition? Yes. Okay, everybody's nodding. Robin, yes?
Yes.
Yes.
For condition number 21, I know that you gave us some documentation, Joe, about the seed mix that you used last fall. However, this information wasn't presented in the public hearing for future seeding and the restoration work. And we're going to require that documentation because you're going to be doing reseeding after you complete your house construction. So we need
So
you.
do I give you a copy of that before I do it, or when I'm ready to do it? Because again, I'm gonna be reseeding everything all over again. Right now, the first seeding I did, you can see the grass that's there growing everywhere. I mean, I haven't touched anything, so Do you want me to, when do you need that paper? Before I do it or when I'm ready to do it?
When you bought it and you're ready, I don't think it mattars, but
Well, I don't want to buy the seed too early because then you seed, if you hope buy it too early.
I would
it's
say when
no
you're
good.
ready to do it,
All right.
you
When I'm
just-
ready to do, I'll give you all the paperwork.
Okay, that would be great. And then for special condition number 30, which is the one that you're wanting to revise, we're going to require a public hearing for that
Okay,
on May 26th at 8:15.
All right.
And
Okay.
I will send you the abutter notification with the proper language.
I think you did that already.
Oh, I already gave it to you. Okay,
Yep.
great. I know I sent it to somebody. I thought maybe it was
Yeah, we have
Got it.
everything we need and we've already reached out to the assessors.
fantastic. Okay, very good. All right, so we're good with you guys for now. And we'll
Okay.
see you on Sunday.
All right, thank you.
And let us know a time, that's all.
I will let you know. I have to figure out how long it's going to take us to get from point A to point B. Okay,
Okay. And good luck with your husband.
thank you.
Sure.
Let me just move on to the minutes, see what else we have left. We have a hearing in half an hour. Site visits, we've already scheduled. Want to look at whether there were some updates we could go over. I did reach out to Pat Garner. He has signed and returned to us the agreement and gave us a copy of his liability insurance and his W-9. And he said that he and Scott are going to begin doing their research next week and would be in touch with us. Okay. There was a conversation that I had, and I sent an email to the select board and to Becky Torres, the town administrator, about the Road boat launch, and the conversation I had with Melissa Cryan from the Division of Conservation Services. And did everybody get a chance to see that email I sent?
Yes.
So she reaffirmed that the boat launch is problematic. And not in keeping with the terms of the self-help grant. And
What's her suggestion for resolving it?
it's a pretty complicated, because to take land out of Article 97, there's a multi-step process, including that we would have to agree and approve it, then the select board would have to approve it, then the Division of Conservation Services has to approve it. It has to go to a town meeting vote, and then it has to go to the state legislature and be approved by a bill. And in addition to that, there has to be a kind for kind swap. You can't just take the land out of Article 97 protection, which you have to swap a similar piece of property of equal value monetarily and equal environmental value. So they would do, the Division of Conservation Services would do their own appraisal of the property. And then, for example, if you were taking 2 acres of lakefront out, you would need to come up with 2 acres of lakefront somewhere else that you would put into Article 97 protection. Does that make sense to you, Janice, what you understand, or Beth?
Yeah, no, that's all. That's what
Super-
I've heard too,
super-
in terms
Yep.
of chapter 97.
Super hard to do, Janice.
Yeah, that's what I've heard too from the times that we've actually Hadley did that just a year ago. But they happened to have a park that had never been put into permanent protection, and they were able to swap it pretty easily. But having something lakeside to lakeside is going to be a lot tougher unless for some reason one of our conservation areas along the lake was not already put into permanent protection or something along that line. I'm not sure that
No,
there
you can't.
are any.
The other two, our conservation land is already in 97 protection. So if it's already in permanent protection, then there's no net gain. There has to be a
Yeah, I was thinking about other ones around the lake, not just Southbrook and
Yeah, we don't have any similar sized parcels around the lake. I mean, maybe we could acquire a piece.
the only place I can think of that's a maybe, and I'm not sure it quite touches the water though, and it really to me isn't equal, but is there's some town property off of Watson Street road that's on the east side of the lake. And that was, last I knew, nothing was ever formally done with it.
How many acres was it?
I don't remember. It wasn't, it was it might be large enough. It's an undeveloped, basically forested piece with a bit of a rough trail road that goes down into it. I think, I can't remember the parcel number, but unless the town has since, I haven't looked at it in a while, so unless the town has sold it or given it to somebody, there was a piece on the east side over there. It's this little road that I don't think anybody lives on, Watson Streets.
Well, it's possible that maybe Division of Conservation Services would approve a more than a 1-to-1 swap. Let's say there was
Yeah.
2 acres
Yeah,
for every 1 acre or something else, if it wasn't exactly equivalent in terms
Yeah.
of lakefront. Because
And-
if you were to take otherwise, I mean, the town doesn't own any other property that could be developed into a boat launch somewhere else on Lake Wayla. So it just becomes really complicated.
Mm.
And I think that, I don't know, I think that it needs to get addressed. I was suggesting to Rita, Farrell, and Becky that maybe the 3 of us have a phone conversation or a Zoom call, and then set up a joint meeting with Melissa Cryan, so that, they could hear directly from her what DCS would require.
good idea.
But I imagine that nobody is cherishing doing this. I'm not cherishing doing it. It's not a fun situation.
Well, I'm just wondering, for instance, the property that Penny was very involved in, and with the canoe kayak thing, did that actually go into Article 97? It was purchased by the town for conservation, but technically, if you don't have a deed that states that, it's iffy. And a couple years ago,
It's not as big.
no, not at all, but maybe you could start building between that. And then there's also another piece on the north side of the lake. It's on the northeast side. It's the Little Garbiel Conservation Area. That's very small, but it's waterfront, and that's usually where we would launch and take our boats, our canoes back, kayaks back out.
I didn't know about that. And that's owned by the town?
Yes, and it was a gift from Anna Garbiel back in maybe the 80s, something like that. It doesn't really have parking. It's at the end of, I can't remember the name of the little road, but it's a little road that's sort of across from the Lake Wyola Association building.
Merrill Drive, I think.
What is it?
Merrill Drive?
No, Merrill is the one that Penny was working on. This is
Oh,
on the
okay.
on the other side of the lake. So
Oh, okay.
I'm just trying to think of, there are little pieces here and there that if
know-
they
do you
haven't gone
know,
through the formal process of getting the deed verified as Article 97, might help you work towards that goal.
The other thought I had, I don't know if this would fly with DCS, but there's a number of parcels of land in town owned by the town that are not in conservation status.
Mhm.
And if deeding them over to the Conservation Commission and putting them in permanent conservation status, like that parcel over on Montague Road, maybe that one already is, but I think there's a couple of other small parcels here and there. And maybe taking those and putting them into conservation status, if that would satisfy them that, the town was not having a net loss of preserved open space.
I think you're going to have to prove that you've made your best effort to find land along the lake first before they'd accept it away from the lake. They can be pretty tough on that, especially when it's an Article 97 conversion sort of thing.
And you're not talking a big area though.
Yeah, how
You're
many
just
acres?
talking, you're just talking where the boat ramp is.
Yeah, so is that like 2 acres or something or what?
Guess is they would probably want to do the parking lot as well.
Hmm.
Because if they ever wanted to do any other development around the parking lot.
But the parking lot also serves the other conservation area there,
Right.
so you wouldn't want to give the parking lot away. I'm thinking you only want to give a small area where the boat ramp is and leave the parking
Yeah,
connected to the other part.
Yeah,
yeah, that's a good
Awesome.
idea.
yeah.
And just say the boat ramp, everything else.
I mean, there may, you know, I think it's worth resolving one way or another, and obviously we want to preserve the boat ramp. I'm not advocating for getting rid of the boat ramp. I think it's too baked into the culture of our community, and too many people rely on it for it to make sense to pull it out.
Hmm.
Okay, well, I'll hopefully be able to set that up at some point soon. Other issue, and it's probably too late now, but I just wanted to throw it out there, this idea of certifying the vernal poolets on Southbrook Conservation Area. I don't know if anybody's had a chance to go out and look at it. Is it too late now, Janice?
It depends. It's drying up. So if it's not a good deep pool, you may not have a population that survives this year, and the egg masses may be drying up and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. See how much rain we get this weekend.
Well, maybe we should table that for next year, but it would be nice to get it certified.
Yeah, good idea.
All right. We've got a few more minutes. I'm trying to think if there's anything else we need to go over tonight. Anything you guys can think of that we haven't covered? Yeah, Carrie.
Did you go over the national grid? There was at one point I had to run and grab my
Yeah.
laptop
well,
charger. Okay.
Yeah, we got this letter about the treatment plan that National Grid was planning on doing on the right of way with herbicides. I don't think we have any jurisdiction. We don't have much jurisdiction. I don't know if anybody wanted to make any comments to them about it. It's the right of way for the power lines. It's not along the road.
Isn't that more highway department?
It's not the highway department. It's the right of way for the power lines, the high tension power lines. So they're taking this swath where the power lines are, and they're going and treating it with some mechanical removal and then some herbicide treatment.
I'm blanking out at the moment on where the power line is, other than the AT&T that sort of crosses Montague Road. Is it down? Oh, it's down near Pratt Corner, down that end?
Yeah, Pratt Corner.
Oh, okay.
Cuts across Sand Hill Road.
Okay, thanks. Yep.
Did
That's
did
right.
they send any maps that showed where the wetland areas are along?
I asked for a map. I did get one. I can put it up if you want. Hold on. Point POY was it? What was it called? What was the map called? Map. National Grid. Okay, here it is. I'm pulling it up. Oh, it's 285 pages long. Holy crumbs. No, that's not the document I wanted. Let me see if this is it.
That should crash the Zoom.
It will. Their forest management plan. I can't find any maps in it. They didn't send a map. It's not like they sent the map to the town and didn't send it to us. Carrie, did you see it on the Concom inbox? Because I'm not on there. I'm not on my email.
Sorry, I was muted.
Grid, can you? It was around May 5th that we got, and then I had asked them for the map. I don't see it. National, oh, here it is. Shutesbury.
Did you find it or?
I'd have to go back into my email and if I do that, the order of conditions for. I'll
It's
get-
okay. You could just, if you do
I'll send
happen
it
to
to
get
you.
it, send it out.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
I mean, we don't really have any much authority around this, do we, Beth?
No, again, it's the kind of thing we review and make sure that they are doing everything possible to not be spraying right in the wetlands. And so again, it's like a comment thing. We can comment to what is it, National Grid.
Would you
can't
be willing to
deny.
look it over, or Janice, or somebody else, and then make comments on our behalf?
I'm happy to look it over because I mean, when I worked for Amherst, I did, but I was always given sort of, like you said, 284 page. It was these maps that would actually, but they usually do a really good job of delineating the wetlands, so that you know what areas that they get into that are actual wetlands where they might
Yeah,
be
the map
using.
I saw didn't have the wetlands delineated. It was just a kind of a aerial shot, I think, with just the line of where they were, just like a graphic of where they were going to be treating. But
okay.
I'll send it to you. I'll send you what I have.
Okay, yeah, and I'll take a look at what their letter.
All right, sounds good.
Wait, were you looking for the letter or for the graph? Or not
The,
the graph?
the map.
Oh, I see. I have the National Grid letter, but I don't have the map.
Yes, so let me see if I can, we got a couple minutes, so we can waste some time here. Because we can't start
As,
sooner.
yeah, the letter is the only thing I received.
Okay, then hold on, I'm logging into my account and I'll see if I can send it to you or I can show it to you guys. It wasn't very informative. National Grid herbicide treatment. And I forwarded to everybody. That's not the map. Who's the woman? National Grid.
Don't forward it to me if it's however many megabytes. My old computer does not do well with big files.
All right. I found the map. And I'm downloading it right this second. I'm going to share it with you guys and you can see it's not very useful. But hold on. They do have some wetland areas delineated, what I can see on it. Right. And now I have to do a screen share, right? Can you see that?
Yep.
Wow, that's nothing.
Yeah, not a lot of wetlands, really. Mm-mm.
Not a lot.
No,
And
one
there's
little
a
spot.
little bit right here.
And a stream, maybe stream
Stream.
crossing.
There's stream crossings, 1, 2, 3. Here's stream crossings.
Mhm.
But what role can they, I mean, we can't ask them to not spray? It's going right into the town of Amherst water supply.
Yeah, that's why, I mean, typically they don't. See, they've got public well, they delineate those areas and typically they don't spray in those particular areas and
Not here,
they'll
but
list in their
but
letter.
They're spraying up here. This
So does the letter say that there's any zones where they don't spray?
Yeah, right here around Atkins.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Well, okay, no herbicide use, planned work. Huh. Yeah, I feel like I can look at the letter and see, but where it goes over Nurse Brook especially, we probably don't want them spraying there.
Yeah, Carrie, you have your hand raised.
I have the letter that I can share, and I'm pretty sure it says like where they're looking. to
Yeah,
serve.
no, I sent it to everybody. Everybody's got the
Okay.
letter. But this shows where they're spraying. I mean, I don't think that they're spraying this entire stretch. I think that it's selective.
Mhm.
I'll make sure I send this to you, Beth, and if you want to comment on it with them, that'd be great.
Okay, sounds good.
Great, thank you. All right. Carrie, did you still have your hand raised? Did you mean? Nope. All right, we still got 6 more minutes. What do you guys want to talk about?
Was there any more information about the logging on Schoolhouse Road? Have we heard anything else about?
I have not heard anything.
Hmm.
So I guess that was where it got left off.
I know, where did that get left off?
And we didn't hear anything about the other site that supposedly has submitted a plan.
Actually, so I did look back in my email and that he did submit a cutting plan to us for that one.
Oh, okay.
For which site was that?
It's right next to the one that we went and looked at, and it's the same logger. I forget his name. And he was going to use the same landing. That's why he decided to kind of do both projects. If they use the same landing area, and then, so he did submit a cutting plan. I just, when we were out doing the site visit and they were talking about that, I hadn't seen it, or I couldn't remember that he had actually submitted one, but he did.
Was that in Amherst or was in Pelham?
No, this is right on Schoolhouse Road. It's right next to, so there's 2 cutting plans right next to each
We
other.
didn't get one. We didn't get it.
Oh, I thought I looked in my email and there was another cutting plan, and I looked at it, and I'm pretty sure, I think you forwarded it to us.
Who is it submitted to?
I forget the landowner. It's their neighbor on the other side of Leslie Surrier's house.
I don't recall that we received it to carry, because it's not, I don't know that we received it as officially as a commission.
The only one I received recently was that amended one from 40.
Yeah. So we haven't received it.
Let me look in my email, because I thought I found it. I was like, oh, I was wrong. He
So
did
why would they-
submit it.
How did you, I didn't send it to you.
It was from you.
It was for me. Oh, geez.
Let me see if I can find it in my email here.
Okay. It was from me. I guess I didn't know what I'm talking about. Maybe I thought it was, maybe I was looking at it thinking it was for 40 Schoolhouse Road.
Yeah, it's here. So the forester's Eric Donnelly again, and the address or the name of the owner is Phil Wellerstein.
And I sent it to you?
Yes. Ah, but actually his address is 43 Boyden Road in Pelham. But you did send this because I have it in my email from
Can you
you.
forward it back?
But it's actually so it's the abutter, but they've actually gone over the line into Pelham.
Can you send it back to me, Beth? Because I don't have no idea what
I can send it to everybody right
Yeah,
now.
send it back to, yeah. When did I send this?
This was sent on March 30th.
Is this one of the ones that we got late and we got them sent by DCR like through email? 'Cause I know there was like 2 or 3 that we got. that
I
were
think
sent by
so.
DCR.
I think so.
All right, well, that one, it's embarrassing. I don't remember that. I had a little senior moment, I guess, but okay.
Send it to everybody. Oh, my phone.
Wow. Okay,
Yeah,
9 o'clock.
thank you. I'm embarrassed.
it did come from the DCR.
Yeah, okay. I'll make sure I put that up on the website. I
You
have
only
not-
have
I
10
have not-
zillion things. That's all to do.
What?
You only have about 10 zillion things to do anyway, you know?
Only, okay.
Don't these things just magically get done?
Yeah.
We wish.
All right, it is 9 o'clock, so we can get started with the public hearing for 64 Cushman Road. This is the notice of intent for 2 geothermal wells and a trench. And Nate is here, Nate Hurd. Hi, Nate.
Hello.
So you've been waiting patiently, like getting a chance to see how we do things around here. So what we're going to do, I think, Nate, is give you a few minutes to just describe your project and give us the overview of it. And then I think we'll go over some questions that we have and then move on and probably draft the order of conditions, hopefully, if we can do that tonight. So why don't you tell us about the project?
Super. Well, thanks for scheduling this. And I appreciate that it's 9 p.m. and getting late in the day. But yeah, myself and the rest of my family moved to 64 Cushman in August of last year. So we're still haven't had our 1-year anniversary here. But when we moved in, the house came with 2 large oil containers and an oil heat in the house. So our hope is to replace that with a non-fossil based heating system. And technically ground sourced heat pump is the term that I was suggested to use because it's not using true geothermal, like volcanic activity. But effectively, in order to pull heat from the ground in the wintertime and to put it into the ground in the summertime, the ground source heat pump utilizes a series of pipes that are connected to what looks like a furnace in the basement, but it is connected to those boreholes where a fluid carries the heat one way or the other. through a trench, and then in 2 spots in the yard into the ground where it is always around 50 degrees or so. And it has a fair upfront cost, but with state incentives to encourage people to do ground source heat pumps, and its extreme efficiency in converting electricity into usable heat, it's one of the better long-term. So over the life of the system, it's intended to be very efficient and cost-effective as well. So our site, as you've seen from the site plan, hopefully that I submitted, that includes elevation gradations and nearby wetland and Adams Brook. Thank you for pulling that up. The site is close to these water features. And the site is, it is moss and trees. So there's no lawn here, but there would be some disturbance in the digging of the trench, which I was told, I did look this up. The company Dandelion Energy said it would take, it typically takes 2 days to dig the trench and drill the boreholes. Yeah, I'm sort of like not sure how much detail to provide, given the documentation and what.
So let me ask you a couple questions.
Sure.
The trench is going to be how deep and how wide?
Yeah, that's actually a good question, because it also speaks to a part of the NOI where I'm meant to characterize the area of that's implicated in the project, and I calculated that with just area calculations in a GIS where I was demarcating the space contained within the buffer and the property lines, right, for that 200-foot buffer space. But of course, the actual square footage that would be disturbed with the digging of the trench would be limited to that red line. The depth of the trench and
yeah, the depth.
And the width, I actually do not know that depth.
So
But
I think that, and Janice, you can correct, or Beth, jump in here, but I think you got caught off guard with the word area and riverfront area. So you were probably thinking area of the riverfront, that region, as you're explaining it, as opposed to the area of soil disturbance. So the area that is being changed or altered is how many square feet of soil disturbance. So that's where, the width and length of the trench comes into play, as well as the area where the zone for the well drilling.
Got it.
Like you don't have those numbers offhand. And my concern is that we can't issue an order of conditions without having those numbers in the order of conditions. That's part of what we have to fill out. If we don't have that information, we wouldn't be able to issue the order of conditions tonight. We'd have to continue to another public hearing and to get that information from you. Is that right, Beth and Janice?
Yeah, we would want the correct numbers in the notice of intent and then have them in the order of conditions.
Right, because the form actually asks us to put that in the form that we fill out and sign. And if we don't have it, then we can't complete it. Maybe, are there other things that we need more information about? Janice, you had some things that you found that you were wondering about.
Well, yeah, I'm just, the whole wetland issue in the back is bad. I did see those photos that Nate sent. And that was helpful. The couple of flags or pins that Ward had done. And it'd almost be better to like take out that whole section that says Adams Brook, because that's farther away than you have to worry about for, I don't know, it's somehow that's just so inaccurate that
Which part of it is inaccurate on this site?
the
plan?
shape of the blue thing that's called Adams Brook. And
I
then
see.
in the notice of intent, Mr. Hurd said that
Oh.
since it was open water and it was under 10,000 square feet, therefore it didn't qualify as a pond, and therefore he would just put it in together with Adams Brook, which doesn't make any sense at all. And what I was trying to say was that it's actually connected. The blue area that he has is Adams Brook is connected. Certainly you can see that to the south, southeast, I guess, if this is north orientation, where he has the word riverfront, which actually should be stream bank, I believe. And then the riverfront area is the outer zones that he's listed as riverfront buffer. So those things should be corrected. The big blotchy part that's called Adams Brook is a pond with bordering vegetated wetland, and it's all basically part of a very large BVW complex. It connects further to the left and back to the reservoir, but through some other wetland connections. So I don't know how to deal with the wetland shape being totally wrong, but it's more than just a brook. It's a BVW, but it may not make a difference for his project. It's just that you shouldn't approve it because that part is just
Well, I thought you were,
squirrely.
Janice, I thought you were saying that A series wetland down in the bottom was connected to the bank, or that there was, it was a connected BVW to the bank. Is that what you were also saying?
I don't know about that other wetland further down, the green one down at the very bottom.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't know. I was just looking more at the area more immediately behind the house and
Yeah.
the stream where the riverbank is, a riverfront is.
Yeah, I
So
think the language is confusing. So I think that, where you have the word riverfront, Nate, it needs to say bank,
stream
So
bank,
I-
yeah, bank, yeah.
stream bank,
Okay,
because that a bank is a resource term.
okay,
It's a term that is defined under the state wetlands regulations. And so we're referring and approving work in a particular resource area or near a resource area. We have to name the correct resource area. So that needs to be corrected. And I would say, again, where it says 200-foot riverfront buffer, it needs to say 200-foot riverfront area.
okay.
I'm not sure what this 200-foot wetland buffer and then riverfront buffer are.
Great.
Well,
But I don't know, it's-
I'm happy to explain that. Those are just buffers based on in the case of the wetland polygon, just based
Okay.
on that polygon.
So
all the way-
the polygon, so that wetland has associated with it a 100-foot protected buffer, not a 200-foot protected buffer.
I calculated 100 and 200-foot buffers on the wetland polygon, as well as that stretch of bank that is the width that Wordsmith demarcated. So he dropped pins along that bank, which are
Yeah.
sort of illustrated with those photographs. And I could drop markers like exactly where those pins are, or I'm happy to just change the name of the of how it's marked here.
I was saying,
but-
no, that, what I was saying is you've got several buffer lines here.
Four,
And-
yeah.
Right, and one of them doesn't exist in our regulations and doesn't need to be identified.
Okay, So the
So
wetland isn't strictly necessary. to
Well,
buffer that.
there's a 100-foot buffer that is a
Okay.
protected resource area around the wetland, but not 200 feet. I mean,
Okay.
yes, there is a 200-foot line, but it's not a protected resource area that.
Got it.
However, the 200-foot from bank is called riverfront area. That whole area that went from the bank to the 200-foot line is called riverfront area, and that is a protected resource.
Okay.
So the point is that it's all in riverfront area.
And the part that says supplementary measurements doesn't make any sense either. The riverfront to trench. You mean stream bank?
Right, you need
The
bank,
nearest point of the bank to the,
bank, but it's
Yeah,
not riverfront, not the
bank.
word riverfront, use the word bank.
okay,
And-
I think
ahead.
what would be helpful too is to actually have the points that were delineated
Mm,
for the wetland
Yeah.
and for bank on the plan. We usually have that on all our plans, and then from those points, then you're measuring out from those points where the 100-foot and where the 200-foot
Right.
lines go.
So if there's flags are numbered like A1 to A7, then you would have the points of A1 to A3, A4. The flags would be on the map as little circles or polygons or something,
okay,
numbered, and they would be numbered. And similarly around the bank, sometimes people will label them as the high water or HW1, HW2, things like that.
that's how Ward described it, as mean annual high water line as an alternative to riverfront, because he also picked up on that nomenclature issue.
Right, because
Mhm.
that's how it's written in the regulations. So he's using very specific language from the regulations.
But I'll use bank.
Yeah, or
Okay.
high water line.
Okay,
Anything else?
Yes, the 100-foot buffer is around the green wetland, but it also should be around the wetlands that's behind the house. That's, again, not accurately drawn. It's much closer to the house than, I think, at least. I don't know. I can't tell. It's hard to tell on this. But at any rate, it's not just to the green. There's a 100-foot buffer to the bank and to whatever other wetland is connected with the bank. That thing that's called Adams Brook that looks like a pond in the backyard.
I can't see, there's like a pink buffer zone line that cuts through your house, and I can't, what is that supposed to be, 100-foot buffer to the wetland?
yes,
You can't even see because the little label is
Yeah.
blocked by your polygon, your little legend, but well, I guess
So-
he's got the 100-foot riverfront buffer. Is that what you're talking about, Janice?
Well, yes, but that's because he's calling the pond bank or riverfront or river or something. It's not, it's BVW. So in a sense, in some ways, he's extending his riverfront area more than I think it needs to be. But I'm not on the ground, so I'm not sure exactly. I can see where the stream comes out and I can see where the stream goes in to that blue area. But on the ortho photos and the Google Earth, but I can't tell on here. But again, that's a part that maybe that doesn't matter, in terms of where his project is. If it's already covered under riverfront, he's got all these overlapping jurisdictions and protected areas.
I think if he adds Ward's delineation to this
Yeah.
plan, I think that would clear up, because I would think that Ward probably delineated the
Mhm.
wetland and the mean high water that was relevant to where the project area is.
Yeah,
So
that's good.
if, maybe Ward even has a plan showing the delineation.
Yeah.
And how are you, Mr. Hurd, how are you getting those points onto the map? Do you have a GPS that you're using, and how accurate is it?
yeah. So the precision question was one that I wondered if it would come up. So I have recreation grade GPS but there's inherent error to any GPS measure of that kind unless you're you're working with a tripod and sub-meter precision, right? If you're like dropping a utility line and you're not wanting to hit a gas line, you need like extreme precision with your measurements. And I do have a recreation grade GPS, but there are limits to, a very good reading will still have several feet of error associated with it. And the pins that Ward has dropped are, several feet apart. So when you add plus or minus to those dots, I'm a little concerned about, representing that in that way, if you will. But I can absolutely place place pins, dots within 5 feet of where they actually are. So that was a question I had for the committee, if there's a plus or minus or some error, tolerable error for these kinds of measurements, because there are, and this is also true of the satellite imagery. If you take two satellite images 5 years apart, there's inherent error to those sensors. So
Yeah.
you'll sometimes see like,
I just want to jump in here because I think, what we're getting at, and I think this is sort of the point, is that Nate had submitted a request that we waive the requirement for an engineered site plan. And I think that, what we're doing here right now is kind of helping him kind of clean this up and correct it. And I think that, if we're not requiring an engineered stamped site plan, then we're probably going to have to accept, some degree of inaccuracy that's going to go along with that, unless we really want that. I think, I don't know that we're going to be better served by an engineered plan. I think it's a pretty simple project. So maybe that's it. I appreciate, Nate, your willingness to try to correct this. And so we obviously have to give you a list of things that you need to correct, that are the must correct things that we can't approve the permit without. So maybe we should probably focus in on that.
thank you.
So I'm going to go back to Janice's. I'm going to change screens. I don't know if you guys, can you see this? This is Janice's feedback.
Yep.
Do you see the document? So I know one of the things that Janice raised a concern about were the erosion controls. I'm going to switch back and forth here so I can get back to. I did have concerns also about the erosion controls, because what you're calling a straw dike, which I think you described as really straw bales, a line of straw bales. I am kind of concerned by how far downhill it is from the actual trench. I think originally when he first submitted a design, he had the erosion controls way down by the bank. So he's moved them up, but I think that they could go up higher unless there was some physical barrier preventing you from doing that. That was one of my questions, was if there was.
That little divot that comes out is a chimney, and just to the north of that is a bulkhead, but it absolutely could go closer to the trench. I think it would absolutely be possible to do that. Yes.
More parallel to the trench, leaving room for the equipment to, get by or whatever, but.
Right. I would think that, are we thinking that straw bales are going to be sufficient?
Where is that plastic pool that's going to hold the drilling? Is that the little square that's called container up there?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And so that's going to be a silt fence, I guess. Silt fences are trenched. This is going to be a trenched silt fence up above. You're going to be.
I can supply a photo from Dandelion that provides an example of how they've done it on other sites.
Yeah, so silt fences are usually a little a little cut is made into the ground, and then the plastic is laid and staked down so that water is collected by the plastic.
Yep.
It's flowing downhill. I'm assuming that's what they mean. I'm just wondering whether you'd want to do that also at the where you have a straw dike.
It probably partly depends on how deep and how wide that trench is going to be.
Mhm.
You know, if it's only a foot wide, that's not very much, but I just have no idea.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember, because we were looking at a geothermal system for our house not too long ago, and the trenches, I think they're at least 2, because they have to go down below the frost line. And
Yes.
so to get them that deep, they can't be like 12 inches. They have to be
No.
at least, I think, about 2 feet wide in order to get down deep enough. So you got to get down like 4 feet. Am I right about that? It has to be about 4 feet. So, my concern is just with these kind of deep wells, there's a lot of stone dust that gets kicked up, and the stone dust kind of spreads all over the lawn typically, even though if you try to contain the piling, I've seen photographs showing quite a bit of stone dust debris. And so if you've got a rain, some of that sediment could end up in the wetland pretty easily. So our concern around erosion controls isn't for like everyday circumstances. It's really about how to protect the wetlands in a situation where there could be a storm. If it's dry out, you're not going to have a lot of runoff problems into the wetland.
How deep are the wells?
Several hundred feet. They go straight down. Yeah.
So they produce more debris than even a water well, because a drinking water well might be 100 feet, but I think these things are sometimes 300 feet. So I guess the other thought about the straw dike is that I'm just wondering about extending the line a little bit, maybe making it a little bit more parallel to the trench, so that if there was any erosion or washout from where the boreholes all are, there's something catching that from ending up downhill.
Do we know how big the pool is going to be to hold the tailings,
The container.
the container?
So I approximated those dimensions from a polygon that Dandelion provided me, but it was on fuzzy satellite imagery. So that's part of what prompted me to start assembling some of these layers into a specific GIS for this project. So this is intended to be like an approximately like to scale of what Dandelion provided me anyway.
Do you have a
And
photograph? Is there a photograph of them?
yeah, and that's another thing that I can send to the committee. I haven't sent it previously, but
It
Dandelion.
says, can you guys see this letter?
Hmm.
Do you guys see this letter? So 3-ply plastic pools, geotextile filter bags, or lined roll-off containers. So it doesn't really say which. Those are all,
No.
Yeah.
these are, so it doesn't really give us details of what they're doing.
And the mud processor, I'm just wondering what kind of equipment that is and what that would be like.
So here they're saying stop, I'm a little, so we were talking about putting the spoils into containers, but then it also says in some instances, drilling spoils may be temporarily stockpiled or contained using silt fences. So I guess we'd want to know which, is that just from the that's just from the trenching that they're talking about? The stockpile methods is not for the well, it's for the well digging. It's the spoils from the trenches. The trench. Yeah,
I believe that's right.
yeah.
So did you have a photo that you could share with us of this?
Let's see. So I'm gonna call it my.
I'm just looking to see if there's anything else here. And this was the letter that Nate sent us about waiving the requirement for an engineered plan. While he's doing that, do we want to let's just approve this, since I think that is kind of what we're allowing here. So I'm going to make a motion that we approve his request for a waiver of the requirement for engineered plans. Is there a second?
Second,
Okay, David,
aye.
Font, I, Harrington,
Aye.
Khan,
Aye.
and Wilson.
Hi.
That's taken care of. Going back to your comments, Janice, I know that there were some other pieces. The town of Shutesbury needed to be listed on each page, and that the registry of deeds was incorrect. I was surprised, but I think you're
Yeah.
right about that.
It was still listed under a different name.
Yeah, so the deed reference was wrong, and also the fee was wrong.
Yeah. If he's in with Riverfront, I mean, I was so unsure about the wetland mapping that I wasn't sure, but seeing those pictures of the stream, then yes, I guess he is in the Riverfront area.
Yeah, the trenches.
Yep.
The trenches, so so it's 165, not 110.
Okay. Ward Smith guided me through the NOI, although he didn't have time to like represent me and here. But his feedback was that BVW should not be checked as I am not working in those areas. That's just a quote from feedback that he gave me. And so that's all I'm presenting.
Yeah, that part's true. You're just in the buffer zone and in the riverfront area.
Okay.
But the fee is different if you work in riverfront area.
Okay.
And I'm sorry about that, because I didn't catch that. I think Nate had asked me about the fee.
Mhm.
And I'm a newbie on this stuff. So thank you, Janice. I should run everything by you.
No, don't.
There's a limit to you.
Yes.
There's a limit. Well, we appreciate your feedback. Okay, so
So if he can get the points from Ward put onto the map,
Yeah.
to me, 5 feet isn't bad. No, if that's the approximate difference in accuracy, that's for this project, it's just buffer zone and riverfront anyway, right?
here's a map that you just did. Thank
Yeah,
you.
just looking at the Google Earth and trying to look at the area, it just, even if you just look at the left half, it's just very different from the thing that was called Adams Brook. It's not a brook, it's part of a BVW. I just didn't like that left like that. It didn't really make sense. And the green line is the Mass DEP wetlands data layer.
So Janice, you're saying that it is Adams Brook because we're in riverfront
Yeah,
area. Counting,
Right,
so
but it's also BVW along Adams Brook.
I see, okay.
But he's not in it, he's just in the buffer zone of it. But it's just, it just doesn't make sense to call that whole feature there riverfront or stream or whatever. That's just it's BBW.
Janice, is Adams Brook a cold water fishery?
Yes.
Okay.
I didn't know if it made any difference for this project, but yes, I looked it up.
Well, just for the findings, I wanted to make sure I had that correct.
Mhm.
Okay,
Fish are jumping out of that water for
nice.
sure.
So he has to correct the notice of intent. And what does he do? He just revises it and sends it to us and to
Yeah.
DEP by
Yeah.
email?
Mhm.
Okay, so Nate, are you clear about, I gave you the feedback from Janice. Are you clear about the things that need, I mean, one of the things that was unclear to me was obviously here, the registry of deeds need to be changed.
I did go to the Franklin County website, and obviously you can call up. So I was a little surprised to learn that it was erroneous, but I will look up the book and page number that was referenced. And
If you go to the deed and just put Heard as the last name,
yes,
because you might be pulling up a deed from a previous owner. But when I
But that-
found your deed, that's, it was the address, the page that Janice noted. And so then the other thing here are the calculations. So.
I like that proposed alteration section. I don't think he's temporarily altering 71,000 square feet,
Yeah.
but I don't
The-
know. You
the
need to,
total area, so the total area might be correct,
yeah.
but then, what you're altering is the area of the trench and the the whatever is, circumference of the well area.
sure.
So
Okay.
maybe, I don't know what the circumference of the well impact area is, if it's 5 feet or something.
And just whatever minor stuff there is for the equipment work area. Which it sounds like they have a small footprint, but to allow something there for wherever that mud processor and drilling equipment and stuff will be going.
Okay.
Yeah, so he needs to correct that, because that's what we have to have, that square footage in our order of conditions. And the alternative analysis, he did provide, he did know, he checked off no here, but then at my guidance, he changed that and
Mhm.
provided an alternatives analysis, which I think I sent to everybody.
Yeah.
So that needs to be a yes to number 5. And then was the lot where the activity is proposed created prior to 96? I guess that's a yes, right?
67.
Yeah. And then under here, none of this is relevant in this section, right? Nothing has to change. And then none of this has to change. You didn't have to do any notices. And then it's not within an area of critical environmental concern, not an outstanding resource, not an inland wetland, not required to follow the stormwater standards, it's exempt. And then I think, wasn't there a place where you had to say, yes, there was a bylaw? It was subject to the bylaw, or that was on the first page?
I don't remember.
Where does it say bylaw, that it's subject to the bylaw? It's maybe the first page. I thought they had to say that. There was a place where they had to say, maybe I've got it wrong.
No, that's in the order of conditions.
Oh, it's in the order of conditions. I'm sorry. Thank you. Okay. So we need to get that revised and the site plan revised, and you're going to give us some more information about erosion controls.
And
And
more,
so we need-
and more fees.
and the fees have to be corrected. And did you pay the bylaw fee, Nate? Harry, hi.
Yeah, he did. He gave me both checks, but I had a discussion with Linda And because when I was processing them, I wasn't sure where to put that one, so I had asked her, and she had initially raised the question. So that's why I was under the impression that it may have been a mistake, because I did know that he was filing it by himself, and I didn't know any discussion that you had, so that's why I reached out asking him, and then once you clarified it for me, I process it. So it should be within the account and it should be processed.
Great. Okay. All right. So we've got all right, Nate, do you have any questions for us? So you kind of got a sense of what you need. Is he here? Did we just lose him? We lost him.
Hmm.
Oh, we scared him away.
Are you guys going to do a site visit before?
We did a site visit.
Oh, okay.
Um,
So you saw the pins in the field then?
There was flagging, yeah.
Okay, good.
Yes, yeah.
So those points exist.
Good.
so I'm hoping he will sign back in. Carrie, he's not showing up.
No, he is not.
Well, I don't want to kind of continue the hearing until he's here, so we can.
Mhm.
Let me look at my calendar and see when we can do this. Oh, we're gonna have some long nights. We have a lot of projects.
This doesn't count.
Oh, no, I don't even know how to do, I mean, I don't know if we want to change our meeting time, but how many public hearings do you feel like we can do in a night? I worry that if we do more than 3, it's just going to be overwhelming and we're not going to really spend any time thinking things through.
Yeah, I think 3 seems, because we seem to have so much other business all the time.
Yeah.
I think 3 is
Can
good.
we say to an
Sometimes even 3 is a lot.
Can we say to an applicant, we don't have
Oh,
an
he's coming
opening
back.
yet?
No.
So they could force their hand and say, no, I want my hearing within 21 days.
Yeah, you have to.
Right. So it's really by their consent. But if they consent, Janice, we
Right.
can do it at a later time, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so I'll try not to do more than this because it's a lot.
A couple of years ago, we actually had a vote that our meetings would end at 2 hours or shortly thereafter. So we're
No,
not
but-
allowed to do that.
I
No.
didn't know that.
No, not if you have a public hearing scheduled or you're doing a public meeting for a request for determination. You have a
Okay.
deadline.
I mean, we could have more frequent meetings, I suppose, and have shorter. Want to do that? Who wants to do that? I don't know.
If the applicant agrees, you just ask them, is it all right? We're gonna go past the 21 days. Are you all right with that? We have really full agendas. If they're okay with it, then you can try and sort of limit how many we have. per
There's
meeting.
like 10 notices of intent or RDAs coming up.
Oh
And
my goodness.
It's like a lot of them.
Yeah.
And so it's just kind of exhausting thinking about how we're going to do all that. Plus the ANRAD is still continuing. So, that takes up a huge chunk of time in our meetings. Okay. I'm sorry, Nate, we're just doing business while you kicked out. You're muted.
No, I was speaking quietly. Sorry about my computer.
That's okay.
Yeah.
So Nate, we need to reschedule this hearing. So May 26th, we have, we have 3 hearings for that night. But we've already done most of this one, so I think we could do this. I don't know, at 9:30 at night. Or we could do it right at 7. I've got a 7:30 I gave to the Stotsman SIBO people and SIBOs, but we could do a 7 o'clock if you want to do that.
I'd rather do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll do that. Is that all right with you?
Yes, thank you for making that happen. Appreciate it.
And I've got already a draft that I've started working on, draft special conditions, so that we can hopefully wrap this up and then vote on the order that night, so that the permit can get issued.
Awesome.
Okay. Sorry to take so much of your time and make it hard. We didn't mean to make it any harder than we needed to.
No, I get it. I get it.
Okay,
So
thank you.
no, thank you for
Okay.
staying up late and walking me through this. I'm just like a person who has no civil engineering background or wetlands, specialties. So
Well, I applaud you trying to
Yeah.
decarbonize.
I was gonna say you did a pretty good job of it.
You did.
thank you.
The map was very nice.
Well,
Okay.
I'll fix it up, and I appreciate it.
And Janice, there was nothing else on your list of to-dos that we haven't addressed?
I don't think so.
Wood chips. So
wood
there,
chips.
yeah, I'm not sure exactly where to specify that, but I will preemptively agree to secure the trench disturbance with wood chips, because the objective is for the moss to come back in and stitch that seam up.
Mhm. Okay, that makes sense. Okay. All right, so we will, I'll make a motion that we continue the public hearing to Thursday, May 26th at 7 PM. Actually, let's make it 7:05 PM. And Mary David seconds.
Second.
And
Aye.
DeFont, aye. Harrington,
I
Aye.
Wilson.
Aye.
Okay, are we all done for tonight? We got anything? Thank you, Nate.
Thank you.
I make a motion to adjourn then at, I don't know,
9:45 p.m.
9:45.
A second. Okay, David,
Aye.
Font, aye. Harrington,
I
Khan,
Aye.
Wilson.
Aye.
Okay, I will send you guys the
Good
schedule,
meeting.
site visits, and Carrie, I will send you the things that have to get mailed out.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you,
Good night.
Miriam, for all your
Bye.
work.
Yes, thank you.
You,
Good night.
everybody.